Hey squad, it's Felicity. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while, but I promise I have a really good one for you guys today. We are going to be ranking all 180 books that I read in 2021. I know that is a lot of books, so let's get into it. So yes, hi, hello, how have you all been? It's been a while since I made a YouTube video. Grad school sucks and took a lot of my time, but now it's winter break, so I have some time. Want to get this one going. Need to let you guys know all of my opinions on all the books that I read this year. So yes, 180 books. That is crazy. I don't think I will ever be able to read this many again in one year. Because that's like so many books, I decided to break it up into like keeping series together and then keeping obviously standalones together. So it's actually gonna be out of 93 series and standalones. So without further ado, let's get into number 93, the worst book I read this year. If you follow me on my Instagram at @withfelicity, I'm sure you already know. So say it with me. Oh, Lolita. Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov is the worst book that I read in 2021. If you want more information about why I felt this way, go check out my Instagram. Okay, and if I don't have a physical copy of the book, I'm just going to show it to you on my iPad. So, number 92, and probably also if you follow me on Instagram, you might know I do not like this series at all, but it is the Ravenhood series by, what's her name? Kate Stewart. Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep it brief on these, but books that I feel very strongly about, reviews will be coming very soon on my Instagram, so be sure to check that out. But number 91 is How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days, book of the month. This was one of my choices for, I think, November. I don't know what they were thinking. I feel like nobody vetted this. Would just love to know how anybody thought this was a good book. Next up, we have a Bookstagram favorite that I hated very much. This is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. This book, also review posted already on my Bookstagram. Check it out. Terrible. Don't recommend it. And number 89, I actually owned, but when I moved, I disliked this book so much that I didn't bring it with me, and I brought like a lot of books with me, but it is Sam and Ilsa's Last Hurrah by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan. I found this book at the Dollar Tree. I was super excited because I read Dash Nelly's Book of Dares when I was like in middle school, and I loved it so much. I was like, oh, this is gonna be another like really cute story. It wasn't. 88, we have The Summer of Broken Things. This is another author. I read some of her work when I was younger, and I found this one also at the Dollar Tree. Also didn't bring it with me when I moved because I didn't like it. Just very unlikable characters. Kind of a slow story, not really for me. Number 87 is Payback's a Witch by Alana Harper. This book had so much potential. Setting was great, love story about witches, love that it was LGBTQ main characters and love interests, but I think we need to stop letting millennials write books because this was so cringy. Up next, Iron King by Julie Kagawa. One of my best friends told me that I had to read this series because she loved it when she was younger. So I read the first one, but I was really not a fan. I think if I had read it when I was like in middle school or 11 or 12, I would have like really liked it, but reading it as an adult just didn't hit the same way. Next we have this fun little Christmas number, Dipped in Holly. I just read this. It's like a 60-page novella, basically just smut. It was fine, nothing special. Our next book is The Witch Haven by Sasha Payton Smith. As much as I love the design that Bookish Box did on this, I unfortunately did not really like this book. There was so much going for it, but it was just super underwhelming and felt really flat. My next one was the Modern Fairy Tales Trilogy by Holly Black. I read these because I read The Folk of the Air last year and loved it. Was expecting to love this too because I knew that some of the characters in Cruel Prince started off in this series, but unfortunately, I don't know, I just didn't really like this. I think it's like her first series she wrote, so maybe it's just kind of like a time thing, like she's gotten better as the books have gone on. It had all the great like Holly Black fae tropes, but just didn't do it for me. Next, I read 3 little books of poetry by Rumi, so it was love poems, spiritual poems, and friendship poems. They were good. I just feel like some of them didn't really fit the category of the book that they were in. So, I mean, like the ones that were good were amazing, but the majority of it was just kind of like, eh. Next, we have The Keeper of Night. Again, so much potential. I probably will be checking out the sequel when it comes out. I felt like the ending was just kind of like rushed and didn't love the characters all the time, but really like the concept, love the Japanese folklore. I think that's something we don't see a lot, and so I was a big fan of that aspect of it. Next, we have the Fable Duology by Adrienne Young. I wanted to like this so much. I mean, the covers are like stunning. I don't know if you can see it super well. I don't know, there are other pirate books that I liked a lot more than this one, and I just kind of felt like it was missing something. In number 79, we have the 6 series by Samantha March. I watched Samantha March's beauty videos here on YouTube. I really like her a lot, and so I knew that she was a writer. I wanted to check out her work. These were fine, just like not my typical genre that I would go for, so There's nothing like wrong with them, but just wasn't really for me. But check out Samantha's YouTube videos if you are into beauty content, because those are really good. Then next we had To Kill a Kingdom. Again, a lot of potential enemies to lovers, but I felt like there was really no build up. They just kind of all of a sudden weren't enemies anymore and they were lovers, and it felt like, I know this is Little Mermaid retelling, but it felt like a little too much at times. There were a lot of things I liked, but again, there are other mermaid pirate books that I liked a lot more this year, so stay tuned. Then we have Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Again, I really wanted to like this. I know it's super hyped up online, but God, I did not like these books. Pacing is terrible. The characters are kind of annoying. The author's a little annoying too, to be honest. Don't come for me. I just think that there are better series out there. Next we have the Four Horsemen series by Laura Thalassa. I read 2 of these this year. I'm probably gonna read the other 2 next year, but I'm not really in a rush because these weren't like my favorite. I have a different Laura Thalassa series that ranked much, much higher, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so this might be a little bit controversial, but my next entry in the list is the Nikolai Duology. Where do we even begin? I was very excited about this idea because Nikolai, Nina, and Zoya are 3 of my favorite characters from the Grishaverse. But God, these read like a bad fan fiction, like a weird fix-it fic. Choices were made. I did not like most of them. The second book was a little bit better, Rule of Wolves. My hot take is that I don't think Leigh Bardugo is a good writer, and I think she got lucky with Six of Crows. And we can fight about it in the comments, but that's how I feel. Up next, we had The Regional Offices Under Attack. My dear friend Rowan recommended this book to me. It was very wacky, a little weird, very character driven. Wasn't my favorite, but if you want something like totally out there and probably different from anything else you're reading, I highly recommend this one. Next, we have another Bookstagram favorite, My Year of Rest and Relaxation. All I'm gonna say about this one is that it's giving Remember Me, starring Rob Pattinson. Next up, we have this like Rosegate, Wolfgate, Lilygate series. I don't know if it has like an actual title, by Hannah Sandvig. These are just like really cute fairy tale retellings, just very like cutesy. I enjoyed them. They're quick reads, but not my favorites. Now we have Caraval, and I don't have an actual book, so I'm showing you this little tin that it came in my bookish box this past month. Caraval is a series I've heard so much about, and to be honest, the first book did not meet my expectations for it. I've heard it gets better in the other books, so I would consider reading them. But as far as the first book goes, did not love it. And following Caraval is The Beautiful by Renee Adia. This is about vampires set in New Orleans in the 1800s, so really cool setting and concept. The first book was a little bit slow for me, so I'm not sure if I'm going to continue the series, but I think this would definitely appeal to a lot of people. We have Fool Me Twice. I read this because one of my friends saw a TikTok about it, and it seemed really ridiculous and a little bit stupid, and it was, but at the same time, I kind of loved it. So if you want to shut your brain off and read a rom-com, this is it. Okay, now we have Ace of Spades. So this book, I like really changed my mind on the longer I thought about it. Like when I first read it, I was like, wow, that was amazing. 4.5 stars, like loved it. But then the more I thought about it, and when I was getting ready for this video, I was kind of like, you know, I don't think it's really as good as people think it is. Like it was trying really hard to be like Gossip Girl and Get Out. And I think my biggest issue is that even though like it explores so many really important concepts, the author is British and it's in an American setting, and I just felt like there was a little bit of a disconnect there. So I think it would have been better if it was in a British setting and just kind of like more reflective of that experience rather than the American experience. Did anybody else feel that way? Let me know. Next up, we have Dial A for Aunties. This was just a really quick, like funny read. I'm very excited about the Netflix show. Now we have The Heartless Prince. This was a super cute graphic novel, beautiful artwork. I just wish that it was longer. It's super short, and like I want like a volume 2, like I want more to the story. Now we have These Feathered Flames. Let's take a moment to appreciate this stunning artwork from the bookish box edition of it. This series also had a lot of like cool things going for it, really interesting representation, really cool Russian setting. I like the incorporation of Russian folklore. I just felt like something was missing, but I feel like the sequel could potentially really make it a favorite of mine. Next up, we have Pride and Premeditation. This is a very cute Jane Austen Pride and Prejudice retelling that's set as a murder mystery where Lizzie wants to be a lawyer. I'm very excited about the other books coming out in the future. I think she's gonna do all of Jane Austen's books as murder mysteries, and I'm very into that concept. Now we have I Would Leave Me If I Could, which is Halsey's book of poetry. I am a huge Halsey fan, so like there's no way that I was gonna give this a bad rating. What I will say is that I think it could have used like an editor, maybe some of it could have been cut down. And I think that a lot of her poems, like they work better as lyrics in her songs, because you'll see that some of the poems actually like became songs later. But there's definitely some really like heart-wrenching and amazing poems in here that will like definitely make you cry. So if you love Halsey as much as I do, I think you'll probably really like this. Okay, next up we have The Beast of the Barrens, which I got a targeted ad for on Instagram, being like, if you like Kaz Brekker, read this. And so I was like, well, yeah, I love Kaz Brekker. And so this is its own book, but it really is like a Six of Crows fan fiction. So if you love Kaz Brekker and you wish there was more smut in Six of Crows, you might like this book. Next up, we have Bringing Down the Duke. This one's really cute. If you like Bridgerton, Jane Austen, I think you'll probably really like this. I like the kind of like feminist suffragette spin to it. Next up, we have An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This book was super cute. Count how many times I say cute. Maybe take a shot every time I say a book was cute. But a lot of them were. So you know what? Oh well. But yes, very cute story, and I'm very excited to read more by this author. Next up, I finally read Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda. Really like this. I feel like it lives up to the hype. The movie is really good too. I would say the movie is not a good adaptation of the book, but it is a good movie, if that makes sense. Next up, I have The Lovely One by Naomi Tiana. This book is actually like inspired by a story on the Episode Interactive app, which I shamefully, not so shamefully, used to play all the time in high school. And so I love this story. So when the author of the story said she was turning it into a real book, I was like, oh, I have to have it. And so this was really good, except that the episode story covers like an entire school year, and this book only covers up until like Halloween of the school year. And I don't think it's like she's intending to do more. Like, I think this is it. So I was just a little disappointed because I wanted like the rest of the story. But the love interest that I chose on episodes is the one that she ends up with in the book. So, you know, my taste is pretty amazing. Next up, we have my October Book of the Month pick, which was The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. This book is just a really fun Halloween read. Like, it's not the best book I've ever read in the world, but it's very fun to read around Halloween time, so I really recommend it for that. Next up, we have The King's Spinster Bride by Ruby Dixon. Cannot really explain this other than that Ruby Dixon has me in a chokehold. Number 55 is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I love this book. I love the way that Talia Hibbert wrote about Chloe experiencing chronic pain and chronic illness, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the Brown sisters books. Next we have King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair. This was a highly anticipated book for me. I really enjoyed it. I think there were a little bit of issues with the pacing, but overall I just really liked it, and I'm excited to see where the series is going. Next up, She Drives Me Crazy by Kelly Quinlan. I read this earlier this year. This is adorable. Just like fun high school rom-com with LGBTQ main characters, which we love, so I think you guys would love this one. Next we have Princess Academy, which is a book that I read when I was very young and I loved it. I would like reread it a lot, and earlier this year I saw the author tweet out that she just finished the script for a movie, and it like unlocked a memory because I'd forgotten all about this book. So then I looked it up and I learned that it was a trilogy, so I read all three of them. And obviously these are like children's books, so this one was a little bit more nostalgic for me. Like, this is a 5-star read. The rest of the series wasn't my favorite. Like, maybe if I had read it as a kid I would have liked it more, but I love the series and I'm very excited for it to maybe become a movie in the future. Next up, These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I have not read Our Violent Ends yet. I'm reading it right now, so please no spoilers in the comments. I really like this. I am a slut for a Romeo and Juliet retelling, or just Romeo and Juliet in general. Literally have my complete works of William Shakespeare here and Romeo and Juliet somewhere over here. Fun fact about me, I played Mercutio in The Nurse when I was a senior in high school in our school's production of Romeo and Juliet. And yes, I really like the story, love the Shanghai setting. There's one thing about the ending that I didn't love that I would be happy to talk about, but I won't give any spoilers here. But yes, highly recommend this. Maybe I won't after I read the second one, but we'll see. Next on my list is War of the Foxes by Richard Seiken. Richard Seiken's poetry has been like haunting me since my Tumblr girl days in high school. So I finally was like, I should actually like read some of his book of poetry. So read this one, loved it. Some of my favorites in here. I think my favorite one is Portrait of Frederick in the Shifting Light. Highly recommend it. I guarantee you will probably recognize a lot of the phrases in this poetry book because they are all over the internet. Next up, we have Gods and Monsters by Shelby Mahern. This is the last book in the Serpent and Dove trilogy, so I read the other two last year. This was a good ending to the series and I like this book a lot, but honestly, part of me is like, just read Serpent and Dove and pretend that the story ends there. I don't know. Anyone else feel the same way? Next up, we have Written in the Stars by Alexandra Bellefleur. This story was adorable. I loved it. I'm very excited to continue reading the other books in this universe. Next, we have the Trials of Apollo series by Rick Riordan. So I had read this one before when it came out, but I hadn't finished the series, so I did that this year during my Percy Jackson reread. This is definitely my least favorite of the 3 Camp Half-Blood Chronicles series, but I did really like it. I love Apollo as the main character and the narrator. I just did not love some of the choices that Rick was making. I'm sure you guys can agree. Now we have Squad, which was this graphic novel that I impulse bought and then ended up loving. The artwork is stunning in it. The story is super cute. It's about teenage werewolves. It's like Mean Girls, but if they were werewolves and killing people, and I loved it. Super fun, quick read. I think anybody would really enjoy this book. Now we have Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. This book I've been like meaning to read probably since I was like in high school. I think that's when it came out. Very good, loved it. Was shocked to find out there's a sequel, but I do own that now, so I will be reading it very soon. This is just such a beautiful story. Next up, we have Bridgerton, books 5 through 8, and then I also read like the Happily Ever After with all the little second epilogues for all the stories, because I read the first 4 last year. I love the Bridgerton series, love the show, very excited about season 2 coming out soon. The later books in the series weren't my favorite. I definitely liked Benedict's story the most. I'd be curious to know which book in the Bridgerton series is your favorite if you've read them. Next up, Deal with the Elf King by Elise Kova. The story was kind of like a Hades and Persephone retelling a little bit, but with elves. Loved it. Very excited to keep reading in this universe. The next book on my list is A History of Wild Places. This was my December book of the month pick. Kind of like not a typical story for me. It's definitely like a magic realism, a little bit of a mystery thriller vibe. I loved it. Thought this was so good. I like tore through it. Really beautifully written, really interesting story. I think you guys would love this one. Okay, next we have the series Radiance by Grace Draven. I saw this in like a recommendation video on like Instagram or something, and it's a little weird, it's a little wacky, but I really liked it. It's kind of like a Beauty and the Beast type story, but not really. And then we have the Bargainer series by Laura Thalassa. So definitely prefer this one to the Four Horsemen. Bargainer is amazing. If you love ACOTAR, you're gonna love this one. Can't say enough good things about it. I read this when I was on vacation and I like just tore through it. I loved it. Now we have Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer Armentrout. This is the prequel to From Blood and Ash. I really liked this one. I really liked Sarah and Nyktos a lot as characters. Shout out to my friend's little cat named Nyktos after our guy in here. I definitely see the criticisms that it's kind of similar to From Blood and Ash, but for me it was different enough and I really liked it, and I liked that it explained some things, and I'm excited to see where the story goes. Okay, my next recommendation, Bunny by Mona Awad. If you like a dark academia, and I mean like a truly, like this is dark and it is academia, you will love this one. It is so fucking weird and I loved it so much. Then we have The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. This one is hyped for good reason. Amazing rom-com. Loved Aaron Blackford. I mean, who wouldn't? Yeah, just loved it. Great work. Next up we have They Wish They Were Us by Jessica Goodman. I read this because, as we know, I love Halsey, and she is going to be like starring in and producing a TV version of this book called The Player's Table with Sydney Sweeney. It's going to be made by HBO, so I was very excited to hear all of that. So of course I read the book. This book is so good. Yeah, mystery is really good, but kind of more than the mystery, I just really love the themes that Jessica was exploring about like being a teenage girl and feminism, and so good. Cannot wait for the show. I think it's gonna be really amazing. Next up we have The Hating Game, which I figured I had to read because the movie was coming out. I love this. It's just a cute, good old workplace rival, enemies to lovers story. It's adorable, and I really like the movie too. I thought it was a pretty good adaptation of the book. Next up, we have Slouching Towards Bethlehem, which I read in honor of Joan Didion, who passed away. I've been meaning to read her work forever, so I decided to start with this collection of essays. They are beautiful, so well written, just like so relatable, even though, you know, they were written in the 60s. And I think if you are trying to read Joan Didion, I recommend this one a lot. Next up, we have These Hollow Vows. This one I was super excited about, very highly anticipated read this year, and I loved it. If you like ACOTAR, like Throne of Glass, Cinderella, fairy tales, I've heard that the selection as well. I think you would like this. I think it just has a lot of really good tropes that all of us fantasy gals love, and the cliffhanger is evil, and I can't wait for the second book. Like, I need it right now. I need to know what happens. Next up, we have Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I read books 4 and 5 this year. I read the other 3 like at the end of last year. I love Percy, love the series. This one's definitely my favorite out of this quintet. You guys know, I'm sure you've already read this. Coming up next, we have To All the Boys Trilogy. So I had watched the first 2 movies before I read the series, but I read all 3 of them before the 3rd movie came out. These are so adorable. I can't recommend these enough. They are so freaking cute, and the movies are pretty good adaptations. Next up, we have Dreamwork by Mary Oliver. Mary Oliver is my favorite poet of all time, and so I decided I wanted to end the year. This is actually my last read of the year. This is a beautiful collection of poetry. Wild Geese is probably my favorite poem of all time. This is the book that it's in, so if you like poetry or Mary Oliver, I think you'll really love this collection. Next up, we have Blade of Secrets. This year I discovered Trisha Levenseller and I read all of her books. This is her most recent one. I loved it, can't wait for the sequel, and just love Trisha in general. All right, now we have Heartstopper. I read all 3 of these graphic novels this month. Very excited for the 4th one. These are just like so heartwarming and cute. The art is adorable, the story's cute, love all the little side characters. And yeah, just love that story about like the LGBTQ community that's not like sad or traumatic, just adorable and full of love and light, and I loved it. Next up, we have another Trisha Levenseller, Warrior of the Wild. So yeah, this book I did not expect to like as much as I did because I'm not like a huge Vikings person, but wow, this like blew me away. It is so good. Trisha really like knocked it out of the park with this one. Next, yeah, we got Planet Barbarians, you know it. As I said earlier, Ruby Dixon has me in a chokehold. I read 26 of her books this year, so like 25 of those were this series, Planet Barbarians. This is a series purely like by women, for women. I love it so much. I will fight you if you have something negative to say about this. If you're a man and you don't like the series, it is not for you, it is for women. And yeah, I am a big Planet Barbarian stan, I'm a Ruby Dixon stan. I will buy every single one of these as they come out. I already have the second one on the way, pre-ordered. Yeah, big blue alien girl right here. That's me. All right, now we have made it to the top 25. So coming in 25th place, we have A Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabaa Tahir. I read the rest of the Ember and the Ashes series last year, so I read this one this year. Wow, this is an amazing ending to a series. It's probably one of the best series endings I've ever read. It's just like perfect for the series in general, and sad and happy, and oh god, it was so good. If you haven't read Ember and the Ashes yet, like what are you doing? It is such a good series. You will love it, I promise. Next we have Lore by Alexandra Bracken. I was not expecting to love this book as much as I did, but I loved it. If you love urban fantasy, Percy Jackson, Greek mythology, you will love this one. It is amazing. Then we have more Greek mythology with the Hades and Persephone series. So this includes the 3 from Persephone's point of view, and then the one that's out so far from Hades' point of view. I love these. I think Scarlett St. Clair did an amazing job. The world building is so cool. Yeah, you really can't go wrong with this one if you like Greek mythology and especially Hades and Persephone retellings. Then we have Heroes of Olympus, which I reread this year. I love Percy Jackson. We know this. Love Rick Riordan. This was amazing. House of Hades is like so good. Then we have the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. I also discovered Carrie Maniscalco this year. Love her. Will read anything that she writes from now on. Audrey and Thomas are amazing, and I love this series. All right, now we're getting into our top 20. So we have They'll Never Catch Us by Jessica Goodman. This one I loved even more than They Wish They Were Us. I just finished it a few days ago, and wow, like the mystery is fine, it's good, but again, like the commentary that she's making about being a girl and being a teenage girl and the pressure you face, it's so good. Like she really gets it, and I think you guys would really like relate to this one. And I just, the way that she creates characters is so good. Like some of them are just so not likable, but you're like rooting for them. Yeah, I really like this, and I hope that this one gets turned into a show as well. I think that would be awesome. Now we have Lore Olympus Volume 1 by Rachel Smythe. I love this. The artwork is stunning. Definitely check trigger warnings before you read this, but overall, I really love this. Next up, we have Neon Gods. Yeah, I guess we've entered into the mythology section of my ranking. This is another Hades and Persephone one. Wow, this is so good. Like, I knew I was gonna like it, but it actually blew me away how much I loved it, and I cannot wait to read more in this series. Up next, we have Plated Prisoner by Raven Kennedy. These books, so good, like blew me away. First book, you know, some people don't really love it, but I think it's necessary for kind of setting up the story, introducing you to the concepts. But by the 3rd book, you're just like, holy shit. And I'm still like, holy shit, because the 4th book isn't coming out for a while, and I need it like right now. The ending of the 3rd book is amazing. Next up, we got another one by Trisha Levenseller, The Shadows Between Us. I love this one. As a Slytherin, I really relate to the Slytherin main characters. Yeah, super unique, really fun story. Loved it. In 15th place, we have Beach Read by Emily Henry. This book gets a lot of hype online, and for good reason. Although I will say it's not really a beach read. Like, it's kind of very deeply sad at some points, and like I cried reading it, but just such a good story. read it while I was on vacation, which is like the perfect time. I think you'll really fall in love with Augustus. Next, we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I do own, but I let my friend borrow it and she has yet to read it. So Kate, if you're watching this, please read it so you can give it back to me and we can discuss it. But this book also gets so much hype online, and I really think for good reason. It's a bit of a slower pace, so some people don't like it for that reason, but honestly, like, it just makes sense for it to be like that. This is a beautiful story. It stays with you, and I think that this could honestly be like a classic in years to come. Now we have the Crave series by Tracy Wolff. These took me completely by surprise. Did not expect to love these as much as I did, but there's a lot of fun. Vampire, paranormal, romance, boarding school, hijinks, good fun. Now we have Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This has turned me into a Casey stan. I will read any of her books. I'm going to be reading One Last Stop very soon. Just so much fun. Another reread that I've been doing is Harry Potter because my fiance has never read or watched movies, so we're kind of like reading book, watching movie. This reread has been pretty fun, honestly. It's been a really long time since I've read these books, and I've read the first 4 so far. The 5th one's my favorite, so excited about that coming up. All right, time for the top 10. So in 10th place, we have Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen. This series, so good. Enemies to lovers, really badass heroine. You guys have heard me talk about it before, and I can't wait for the 3rd book coming out soon. Then we have Golden Girl in 9th place. This book I read because one of my friends was like, yeah, my mom reads her books every summer when they come out, and this one's really good. And so it is a murder mystery, but again, I think it's just more about the writing style, the multi-POVs. I love it. I love the concept. This book I literally think about every day. I don't know why, but it just really hit me, and yeah, I can't recommend this enough. It's like a mom book, but it's a really good mom book. It's like moms are onto something with this one. In 8th place, we have the Kingdom of the Wicked series by Carrie Maniscalco. Wow, this series, like, Kingdom of the Wicked was really good. I read that in February, but when Kingdom of the Curse came out in October, holy shit, it was so fucking good. And that cliffhanger was rude, and I need Kingdom of the Feared like yesterday, and I'm sure you guys can agree with me. Next, we have a Bookstagram favorite from Blood and Ash. This series blew me away. I'm addicted. Also need the 4th book of this one. Yeah, love it. Poppy's amazing. Hawk's amazing. I'm getting everybody that I know to read this one because it's just so freaking good. All right, next up we have A Court of Silver Flames. My copy of this book has really seen better days. It is like trashed. I don't know why. I let my mom and fiance read it, and I guess whatever, shit happened. Yeah, I've been a big fan of Nessian since they were first introduced as like a concept, an idea, their first interaction in whatever ACOTAR book that was, and getting their story was incredible. I loved it. All the new characters introduced were amazing. Like, Sarah J. Maas is one of my favorite authors, and I am so excited to see what else she has coming for us in the ACOTAR universe because I love this one. All right, so down to our top 5, we have Daughter of the Pirate King by my girl Trisha Levenseller. This is her best series in my opinion. I loved it. It just made me like so happy. It's about pirates and mermaids. So yeah, this is the pirate series that I've been hinting at this whole time. That's my favorite. And she announced recently she's doing a 3rd book in the universe, and I'm very excited about it. I can't wait to see what else Trisha Levenseller does in the future. Now we have The Love Hypothesis by Allie Hazelwood. This just like kind of came out of nowhere. I randomly chose it as my September book of the month. Did not realize going into it that it was a Raylo fic, but caught on pretty quick. I mean, like, come on, it's literally Adam Driver. His name is Adam. Like, it's pretty obvious. But wow, this is probably the best like contemporary romance book I've ever read. Allie Hazelwood's amazing. I will read anything else that she writes from now on. I love the STEM setting. I love that she is a woman in STEM, so she like knows what she's talking about. Yeah, this book is just, it's so good. If you've seen it online, like, you really should read it because it is that amazing. Number 3, we have The Remnant Chronicles by Mary Pearson. I discovered this universe this year, fell in love. This series is incredible, and it deserves like so much more hype than it gets. And then related, we have the Dance of Thieves duology. I only own Vow of Thieves because it was signed. But yeah, this is set in the same world as The Remnant Chronicles, but 6 years later. And more people, I think, have read this series than Remnant Chronicles, which is sad because, like, Remnant's amazing. But, wow, I mean, Dance of Thieves, Vow of Thieves, these are, like, just so good. Mary Pearson is an amazing writer. I could talk about the series all day and how amazing it is, but I will let you read it for yourself and find out. And last but not least, this might not be a surprise because it was also my number 1 in my top 10 for the first 6 months of the year, but it is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I read this book because my English teacher was doing like a little book club thing for it. It is incredible. Like, yeah, wow. This is another book that I think about all the time. It's got a non-linear timeline. It's kind of just like a short, quick read. It is beautiful, and it is also being adapted into a TV show, I think, on HBO, which is going to be amazing. And yeah, I have never seen anybody else online that's read this book, but like, please, this is your sign. Pick up this book. I promise you will not regret it. It's incredible. All right, so that is all 180 books that I read this year. That was a lot, but we did it. Are any of my, you know, like top favorite books your favorites of the year? Please let me know in the comments. Let me know what your favorite book was. I'm always looking to add more to my TBR. Feel free to like and subscribe, smash that like, whatever else YouTubers say. Oh yeah, ring that bell, smash that like, yeah, all that. And I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.